Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how I do my fog. You'll need white paint or gray or blue-gray depending on the mood of your painting. That's going to be the color of the fog. Sometimes a blue-gray is really nice for more of a bluish tone in your painting. Sometimes white is too bright of a color, so play around with that. I like to use a Deerfoot brush. This one is the 5/8 one from Princeton. I love their Deerfoot brushes, they're my favorite. They've got a nice big wide base that are filled with bristles. They're perfect for blending. You'll also need your paint and this product called a retarder. It's for acrylics. It helps slow down the drying time and also thins it out a bit, making it easier to work with. I know that not only Golden has them, there's other brands that have the same thing. So we're gonna add a little bit of white. It's quite a bit. We're gonna dab some off. You barely want any, and you want it well distributed around your paintbrush so that you don't get big globs. I'm gonna add a little bit of that retarder and mix it in. Just mixing and putting it in there. Now when you start your fog, you always want to start somewhere else on your painting that you're not worried about, just in case you have too much white on your canvas. So we're actually going to start down here and very, very lightly work your way up. And I always like doing very thin layers of fog, and that way I can control it. And sometimes I end up having a lot of paint in the middle. So if I push down a little bit more, some of that paint will come out, but I'll still be able to control it. It all depends how high you want this fog to go. So that's my first layer. I'm going to come back in, get some more paint, and start adding a bit more to the bottom. Sometimes I do like a little tapping motion just to get the paint on the canvas, and then I'll blend it. So it's kind of a tapping blending motion. I'm gonna add a little bit more. And every time I always start at the bottom because I don't want a huge clump of paint in the middle of this tree. It's really hard to get out. Now be very careful with the retarder, because if you push too hard, blend too long, just work it too much, it'll start pulling the green from underneath. And you can see it just a little bit right now. It started to get tacky and there was a little bit more resistance when I was going in circles. So you need to give it a little bit of time to dry before going back in and adding more. If you're impatient, you can just tap instead to fill in those areas that you want to be thicker. And that's what I usually like to do, is I like to do my light fog, bring up my light fog, and then tap down at the bottom so I can get a more dense fog. And that way I'm not working that paint too much. You don't want a bald spot in your paint, they're really annoying. And what a bald spot is when the paint underneath has pulled up and it creates this area that's kind of resistant to all paint. It just doesn't want to accept any more paint in that area, and they're really hard to fix. This was a tree that I had just painted before, so the paint was a little bit fresh, so you can see just a little bit of a green halo right here, which is easy to fix. So I don't know how many passes I've done now, but it depends what your painting is, how thick you want this. And in just a minute, I'm going to show you how I do the sunlight coming through the fog effect. So I had started this tree and I did not wait long enough for the color to dry underneath it. So I'm going to show you how I fix this. So obviously you can see there's a halo of green. It's because I started applying my white before it was completely dry. So all you have to do is take your white and fan it back into the tree, and it'll get rid of that glow, that green glow. I of course let this dry longer so it wouldn't keep smearing. There's still a wet spot right there, I can feel it. So I'm gonna be very gentle with it. But I wanna show you guys how I do my sunlight through the fog effect. So we're gonna pretend the sun rays are coming down this way, and it's very simple. Same amount of paint on it. You're just gonna run like this. And then add another one above it, just like in lines. And when you have a row of trees, this effect looks really cool. You're leaving a bare line of tree there. It's a very simple technique. You can even do 3 if you want to. Just make sure to keep your angles correct. You can always fill this part in with fog and just define the lines a bit more and make them thicker, so you can add fog to this if you want to in the middle and just make that line heavier like that. And that's how you do the sun rays coming through the trees. It looks much better when there's more trees here, so you can really see the effect, and you can play in and out of the trees. Hope that was helpful.